10 o'clock straight up in the AM on this Wednesday morning, May the 17th. Mark Malusis, Keith Arizari with you. It is Better Sports Network. Good morning, Keith. How are you doing, buddy?
Great. I'm playing music.
I think that sounds better than the music Ernie's playing.
Happy birthday, you're still young. Age is just a number.
Thank you.
Having fun.
It would start making me cry. I mean, that's it.
This is your day. Happy birthday to
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
To you, to you,
Thank
to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
This day only comes once every. You're like, please stop. Please
no,
stop.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, Keith.
Yeah,
thank
I
you,
did New Kids on the Block.
Who doesn't love a little NKOTB?
Yeah. So I love the words were perfect. This is your day. Happy birthday to you, to you, to you. This day only comes once every year because you're so wonderful with each and everything you do. Hey, happy birthday to you. This is your day.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, you're going to start making me cry. It's an emotional day.
Do you get emotional? Well,
I do.
I know you get emotional if the wind blows a certain way.
I do. It's been, yeah. I mean, it's been, yeah, of course, man. You think about it's weird, and we'll get into everything that. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Wally, and everyone out there. Thank you, Keith and Ernie, and all the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. But yeah, it's funny, when you watched guys get older. I remember sitting in the WFAN newsroom. When Dick Vermeil, and now listen, I'm not as old as Dick Vermeil was when he'd get all choked up and, talking about the Rams and the Chiefs and, and everything. And you think about the fact of you do get more emotional as you get a little bit older. You think about, my boys getting older. You're living your life through their eyes to an extent, right? Their joy, their experience of things that you already went through in life that they're now experiencing for the first time. Whatever that might be, failures in sports, victories in sports, school, all that kind of stuff, relationships, friendships, all that kind of good stuff, when you're young. So you get, for me, I know we're on kind of different planes. You're not as emotional as I am, but you do. I'm not saying you're emotionless, but you get the point.
I know, yeah.
Because you've talked about that before. It's just, yeah, of course, man. I think about the fact of, you think about your parents. I lost my mom 4 years ago. You think about your parents getting older and, and just kind of, as they talked about in The Lion King, the circle of life. I don't want to depress everybody on this Wednesday. It is my birthday. I'm happy, to be here doing the show with you, Keith. And, I woke up this morning and I key lime pie. My wife got me key lime pie and coffee. And, because I'm not going to see the boys later on today. I have work at WPIX and, they're at school and opened up some gifts. So it was nice. It was a great morning. Cool. It was a fun morning.
Now, I know you're not a list guy, so I know I like to bust your chops with that. But with each and every birthday, do you find yourself kind of almost reevaluating and going, all right, here's a few things I would love to do this year, or maybe I didn't get a chance to do this last year, and if we could get this done, it'd be nice to get this done this year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think you have those kind of goals, personal, family, you'd like to, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I'd like to continue to lose weight and get myself in a significantly better shape than I am in right now. And, find a little bit more balance in my life and not be kind of solely focused on what's ahead, kind of enjoy the moment, because there are times I look back on my career and things, and I didn't really take everything in at that time. I kind of was thinking about what was next in the journey, significantly more career wise than anything else than personal life. But you get into that kind of habit and that kind of mindset, which, can be healthy. It represents drive, but it also can, be a hindrance as well, because you look back, you don't really take everything that went in or was going on around you at the time and just kind of experience everything that goes along with it. I feel like a Tony Robbins commercial right now. That's what I feel like. But, yeah, of course. I mean, don't you do that on your birthday? I mean, you think about things that you'd like to do. You think about the, things you'd like to do with your kids. You think about the time, like the thing that gets me is like the time before, my kids are, and like it all happens, they're going to leave and they're going to go to school, and I want them to have the best that everything that life has to offer. But as parents, as a father, like you get kind of sad thinking about the fact of how quickly that's all going.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like you go through. I mean, you've got the three boys; they're running around from sports to sports. You got Donna trying to do the best that
The
she
days go
can.
by so fast.
Exactly, right? You're working 97 jobs, plus trying to be the great dad that you can be. Like I'm in the same boat with you with all the different jobs and bouncing from place to place and trying to get to every practice if you can and stuff like that. Yeah, it all flies by. It's amazing. I was literally just thinking about this yesterday that the spring sports season for my boys feels like it's almost over already, yet it feels like it just started, right? Like we're trying to figure out what summer camps, like sports camps, the boys are going to be going to this summer. Like we already know they're going to go to the Speedy Claxton camp at least 2 weeks. We usually do 3 or 4 weeks there, but we were thinking about branching out and doing something a little bit different. So we're trying to figure that out. Yeah, it all just flies by. And now the latest thing that we're thinking about, just so, frame of reference for you, it's your birthday, start thinking about things like this. Remember yesterday, was Sharapan with us yesterday or 2 days ago?
No, he wasn't with us this week.
No, he wasn't. Who was with us? Oh, no, Lisi was with us yesterday. And
Yes.
I mentioned the Penn State game.
Yes.
It got me thinking, that game's September 2nd. School doesn't start for the boys till Tuesday, whatever that is, September 4th or 5th. I don't start tops till the following Sunday. So September 3rd, September 10th, right? I think we're going to go to the Penn State game.
Yeah, you should.
Like we have the time. So Jody texted all of her friends that she went to college with at Penn State and said, would anybody be interested? And like nine of the girls that she went to school with, like I think like 7 of them were like, yes. So now they're trying to work and see if there's a way to get like a house and do like this whole weekend thing or whatever.
Yeah, that would be great, man. That's
so
what.
so yeah.
So
that's what it's all about. Trying to live every day to its fullest and looking forward to fun stuff.
No doubt. No, 100%. So I mean, yeah. So
and you look great for 62. You look great for 62.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I appreciate the backhanded compliment. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
62, man. 62 ages well.
Such a dick.
Got him.
I appreciate it. But yes, I mean, it's great. I mean, yes. So thanks for everyone. Thanks for all the well wishes and the birthday wishes. And it's going to be a great day. Happy Wednesday. And thanks for being with us here on this Wednesday morning. And we've got plenty to get into. Dave Barnett's going to join us a little bit earlier today. He joins us every Wednesday. PGA Championship is up at Rochester, New York, in Oak Hill. The historic Oak Hill, and they've redone the course a little bit. So Barnett will join Keith and myself bottom of this hour, right around 10:30 this morning. We'll get into a little bit of baseball later on. Let's start with the association. Game 1, Western Conference Finals last night. And, Keith, you and I were texting a little bit and Ernie as well during the group chat last night during the course of the game. And Denver wins it 132-126, the final. It was they put up 72 points in the first half, led the game by as many as 21, I believe. The high water mark was at one point in time, might have been a little bit less than, but I think it was 21. The Lakers come all the way back and make it a one-possession game, and LeBron James is the ball in hand with an opportunity to hit a 3 to tie that game up late. He misses it. And the Denver Nuggets then hit some free throws late to secure the victory. And really, it was a virtuoso performance from Nikola Jokic. And, it's interesting to kind of the overreactions to game 1. Here's what I knew it was going to happen. Like I really did. And, the Lakers should be feeling really confident coming off of game 1, going into game 2. My question is why? Why should the Lakers necessarily feel confident? Because they were able to come back. Did they win the game? No, they didn't. They did cover the spread. You and I both liked the Lakers plus the points last night, and I thought we were dead in the water with that one for the better part of that basketball game. Because I do think Denver, and I heard from Caldwell Pope after the game, was listening to the Denver Nuggets broadcast driving home from picks last night. And he was talking about the fact of they, kind of played keep away and didn't stick to their offense of of going up and down the court and milking the clock. And, it's something that, they're obviously going to learn from, because here's the one thing: if Denver plays fast, Lakers can't keep up with them. I mean, that's the thing that I learned last night from that game. I also think that, like I mentioned yesterday, Keith, I think home court is going to serve these teams really, really well. It has up until this point in time. Denver is very, very difficult to beat at home. Nikola Jokic is the best basketball player in the world. Joel Embiid not going to take the MVP award. Not every year does the best basketball player in the world win the MVP. But let's give a little respect to a guy that, a lot of people like to find, cracks in the armor with. Nikola Jokic is an unbelievable. He might be not doesn't have the best body, does it a little bit differently, might not be the quickest of foot, was a second-round draft choice. People like posting pictures of when he was 12 or 13 and being this overweight kid. But Nikola Jokic right now, for what he is able to do for a team, how he shares the basketball, the mentality that he has, Nikola Jokic and his production, he's had 6 triple-doubles so far this postseason. He's the best basketball player in the world.
Plus 110, we got it yesterday on FanDuel for the triple-double, so we nailed that one as a show.
And he almost had in the first half.
Yeah, almost had it in the first half. So, Moose, I thought you nailed one specific sentence there. I didn't learn anything different from this game. And I'll take it further. So, you knew it, I knew it, everyone knew it. People are going to get on the air, and there's going to be two sides. You're going to go, if I'm a Lakers fan, I feel good today. I'm going to use the we. We rallied back, and we showed this team what we can do. Darvin Ham made the adjustments, and Rui, and dot. Okay, that's one side. The Nuggets fans are going to go, it's not a big deal. We crushed them through 3. We took our foot off the gas. Not a big issue at all. No, listen. The game ended up being what we thought. We thought it would be a close game. It ended up being a close game. We thought that the best players are going to have to play at their best. They actually did, right? Now, what I will throw is this. In the fourth quarter, whether it was the Rui Hachimura defensive efforts on Jokic, or maybe he got a little bit tired, I don't know. He wasn't great in the fourth quarter. Ended up with 3 points and 2 rebounds in the fourth quarter. The other side, LeBron James, wasn't great in the fourth quarter. Again, not sure if he got tired or anything like that, because, he's nearing in on 40 years old. But listen, 4 points, 0 for 3 from the field, and 4 for 6 from the free throw line. Also had a crucial turnover. I don't like that 3-pointer he shoots. That if there's one part of LeBron's game that I have always despised, it's the late in the shot clock or the late in the game 3-pointer when you have a guard on you that you have 4 or 5 inches on. Drive to the cup. Stop settling for a 27-foot 3-pointer. It's so frustrating to watch. We all know it's going to happen. The Nuggets know it's going to happen. My mother wasn't watching the game. She was sleeping. She knew it was going to happen. Don't do it. And how many times does it actually work? Go back, watch the tape. How many times does he hit a game-winning 3 or a game-tying 3?
Never.
Rarely ever. I think I remember once, and he did the Punisher, and it was cool. It was awesome. We loved it. But just do what got you back into that game. It really is simple. How did the Lakers get back into the game?
Points in the paint.
Yeah, Anthony Davis crashing the boards. Rui down low. LeBron getting down low and then kicking. It was Austin Reeves burying a couple threes. It wasn't LeBron. He actually played a perfect fourth quarter for this team this time around until that 3-pointer. So frustrating to watch.
Yeah, I don't understand why they didn't stick to what they were going to go out there and do, attack in the paint. I mean, Davis was great, 40 points, but you look at Jokic, made him look a little bit silly. Reeves is the third best player on that Laker team. He dropped in 23. I don't care about the journey or how he got there. There's no doubt about it. He played 40. What did he play? 42 minutes less. I mean, Reeves was unbelievable for the Lakers as well. I think there's going to be a long series. The Lakers are going to cut Denver. And I mean that from a sports perspective where, Denver's not rolling through Los Angeles. I do think the Denver Nuggets have got more answers than the Los Angeles Lakers do. And I don't think the Los Angeles Lakers defense, even though as good as they are going to be able to hold up to what the Denver Nuggets can do. Because here's the one thing, then you watch really good offensive teams, Keith, is the ball keeps moving.
Yeah.
like for Denver. Like there's no like stop, watch, one-on-one, solo, ISO game. I mean, just look at the touch passes, whether it be from Jokic, whether it be from Murray, whether it be from Porter, whether understanding what Gordon can do, putting him in a position to go out there and be successful. You throw in Caldwell Pope, you throw in Bruce Brown, who gave you 17 points coming off the bench. I mean, are we really, so saw some analysis saying, well, maybe Denver's got to be a little concerned because of the bench scoring because they only got Bruce Brown. Well, I understand Mike Malone's only got an 8-man rotation. Listen, Lakers, I don't come out of that game, and people love to overreact to one game. And, if the Lakers should have won, we would have seen takes on, what would a championship mean for LeBron James if they had won last night? The road's going to be a lot more difficult because here's what LA was able to do, the Lakers, that is, in their 2 previous series. They won game 1 of the series, and then were able to hold serve the rest of the way and win their home games. That is no longer the case here, and I don't think they're winning game 2. I really don't. And I don't know if Jokic got a little tired in the fourth quarter. I don't think Hachimura is going to be this all of a sudden defensive Dennis Rodman kind of stopper when you look at it. I think Jokic is too savvy, too good, too great of a basketball player to think that he's all of a sudden going to be shut down. Do I think he's going to have another game where he has 34, 21, and what was it, 14 or whatever it is, assists? Not necessarily, but I think Jamal Murray is going to be a constant, and playoff Jamal Murray is really, really good for the Denver Nuggets. Porter is good at what they ask him to do. Gordon is good at what they ask him to do, and they've got a great mindset. So come out of that game, I think the Lakers understand what they need to do, and it's going to be trying to slow down what Denver wants to do, because Denver, I think, when they were walking the ball up the court and the Lakers were able to set their defense, Denver, you saw them struggling offensively. That is something that the Denver Nuggets cannot do, and they've got to try and run the Lakers off the court. Amazingly enough, when you think about the Lakers, you think about Showtime historically, but that's what the Denver Nuggets need to do. But I come out of that game last night with, I think everybody, maybe you didn't watch a lot of Denver Nugget basketball. Maybe you looked at Jokic and say, wow, just really how good is he? And if you haven't watched him, well, shame on you. You came out of that game last night. The thing that was stamped down was this, is Nikola Jokic. The hell with all the debate. The hell with all the analysis. There isn't stat padding. We've talked about Jokic all season long right here on Moose and Keith. We have a healthy respect for the Joker. He is an unbelievable basketball player. And I think Jeff Van Gundy said last night best, after the first 10 minutes of that game last night, he wanted to stand up and give Jokic a standing ovation. And that's exactly when you look at Nikola Jokic last night. He was unbelievably brilliant.
So the Denver Nuggets, what was it? They had, I think, 9 rebounds, like 9 offensive rebounds in the first quarter or something, whatever the number was. It was massive. Like they were crashing the boards. They were winning the boards battle. Lakers fans, I'm going to give you something to feel good about. Okay. This is what I'm going to do for you. You lost by 6. I'm going to give you the number 8. All right. And I'm going to tell you why. So Jokic ends up hitting a weird 3-pointer over Anthony Davis at the end of the third quarter, right?
Yes.
Most of the time that doesn't go in. Michael Porter, early fourth quarter, hits a 3-pointer from the corner that looked like it may or may not have actually touched the backboard. All right. That usually doesn't go in. And Jamal Murray threw up a Hail Mary, 2-pointer over LeBron that usually doesn't go in. Lakers fans, if you want to hold your head high and think something good about your team, there you go. So 8 points that should probably never have happened. I'll give you that. I think what I come away with last night is exactly what you do. Jokic is the best player in the world. Anthony Davis, really good. LeBron James, really good. Jamal Murray, really good. I think we're going to have an awesome series.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think the Lakers will respond, and I think Denver will respond. Hopefully we get a great series, because I think the Western Conference is setting up for one, Keith. I'm not so sure about the East. Unless
I know, I'm trying to find a way to believe.
I heard, I'll give him credit. I heard Alan Hahn this morning on ESPN, because I was cleaning up the house, and after the kids roll through it in the morning and stuff like that, after Donna takes them to school. And he said the Celtics have played with their food this entire postseason. I think it's kind of a fair way, kids playing with their food, not sitting down and eating and being focused on what they need to do. And the food all of a sudden gets all over the place. It's a sloppy mess. And it's all over their face. Like, I think it's, I don't think I could have said it any better. And I think if you have kids, you have an understanding. I think Boston, hopefully they learn their lesson with the Philadelphia 76ers and they don't play with their food, because that's the one thing you can't do against Miami is a team that is going to play smart. They're not going to play with any fear. Jimmy Butler's got to play to the level that he did in the Bucks series, not the Knicks series, and Miami's to get through the NBA final. They're battle tested. Spoelstra's a great coach. You give them a decided advantage as head coach. Talent-wise, though, it's a decided advantage when you look at the Boston Celtics. They have more answers than the Miami Heat. Now, Miami surprised us all. Nobody thought they'd beat Milwaukee in 5 games. The Knicks, you saw the warts to their team, and Miami was able to get rid of them in 6. I think if Boston doesn't play with their food against the Miami Heat, if Boston just stays and remains focused and plays to their strengths, where you have Robert Williams and Al Horford playing down low, I really don't see many pathways, Keith. And I could be wrong, and maybe you disagree. I don't see many paths for Miami to win this series.
Can Jimmy Butler average 40 points per game in this series? That would be my question to you.
I think that's
40.
asking a lot.
Exactly.
That's asking a lot. I'd say no.
Yeah, and that's why I highly doubt Miami can win this series. Now, Dave Sharapan has actually cautioned me of this over the years. I'm going to read you a stat, and you can tell me whether or not you think it matters at all. I'll tell you that Dave Sharapan would say, no, it doesn't matter. So teams coming off a Game 7 of the previous round are 33 and 52. That's a 36% win percentage in Game 1 of the following round. So Miami's been sitting around, whereas the Boston Celtics had to win a Game 6, then had to win a Game 7. It was a blowout, I know that. But if you believe in those types of stats, you'd potentially think Miami could win tonight. Do you give Miami a chance tonight?
I do not. But historically speaking, they do.
Yeah. So that number to you wouldn't sway you either way, correct?
It would not.
Yeah. So Dave Sharapan has told me over the years he's been such a wealth of knowledge. I know for us here at the show.
You got to take the emotion out of it.
Yeah.
No, but he was telling you over the years what? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
It's right. That those types of numbers, what is that? Like, what does it mean? You have to figure out like which teams you're talking about. What is the situation? All that kind of stuff. So just because a number shows you that, it's not an individual player. It's about a team thing. He throws that usually out the window. He doesn't care. He wants to know the here and now of these two teams.
Yeah, I having watched the teams and maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I really am. Maybe it's a case of fool's gold when you look at the Boston Celtics. Maybe they're going to go out and continue to, play around.
Be lazy at moments.
Yeah, be lazy. I mean, they're an 8-point favorite. They're home against Miami tonight for Game 1. They're an overwhelming favorite in the series. Now, here's the catch thing is Boston could go ice cold. Like, we looked at Game 5. It's not like Philadelphia had this virtuoso performance to win on the road in Game 5. Boston couldn't hit a 3 if their life depended on it.
Yeah.
And they just kept on firing them up, and they weren't going down low. So could Boston have one of those games where, the threes aren't falling and they're very 3-point reliant and Miami finds a way to win the game and, Strus gets hot or Caleb Martin gets hot or, and
your boy Gabe Vincent.
Yeah, Gabe Vincent, Kyle Lowry coming off the bench. You know what Bam Adebayo is going to give you down low. Miami's not going to play with any fear, and I know Joe Lisi, who joined us yesterday, has got a future ticket on the Miami Heat. They go into the game tonight thinking they're going to win. That's the one thing and that's the one thing you believe. And you've seen this Celtic team, Keith. The one thing I'd caution everybody looking at Boston is that we've always talked about the talent. We've always talked about, and maybe in the second half of the season saying something's a little bit off. Then the criticisms of Missoula. Now, they played around with Philadelphia. They were able to survive that against the 76ers, which surprised everybody. Ended up costing Doc Rivers his job. Yep. The embarrassing performance on Mother's Day this past Sunday where they lost that game by daylight. So Doc is out as 76ers head coach. Are we giving too much confidence to a Celtics team that doesn't deserve that confidence based on how they've played? Got to remember, I mean, this is a team, go back to 2 series ago against the Atlanta Hawks. They had a 13-point lead in the fourth quarter, and Trae Young went ice cold Trae and led the Atlanta Hawks back to force another game in that series back down in Atlanta. we've seen the Boston Celtics in these playoffs where I've given them a ton of confidence. Have they earned that confidence and that trust going into this Miami series?
Yeah. I mean, you look at it even further, right? Who's the more consistent team? During the playoffs, Miami's been more consistent than Boston. Miami took care of the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, don't forget, Miami's an 8 seed, and I know we routinely talk about it like they don't feel like an 8 seed because of the talent they have there, but they took down the mighty Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, they got Budenholzer fired. So Bud is out because
Celtics have gotten two coaches fired.
Yeah.
They got Budenholzer fired and they got Rivers fired.
No, the Heat got Budenholzer.
Oh, I mean, the Heat got right.
Yeah,
correct.
so they're even.
Oh, two coaches, right?
They're both even with that. Yes.
Yes.
But then even the Heat against the Knicks. No problem.
Yes.
The Heat against the Knicks. The Heat were clearly the better team. They played better basketball. They could have won that series in 5.
Yeah.
They played great.
Yeah, they came out of that series. You're thinking that they're the better basketball team. So, yeah, I think Boston's better.
I think Boston's better. I'm trying to find a way for
you're going to need Butler's got to be, and he did not look right after that ankle injury in the Knicks series. Is the extended time off after taking care of the Knicks on Friday night and now having a game 1 tonight, Wednesday night. So it's Saturday, it's Sunday, it's Monday, it's Tuesday, and then it's a half a day today or majority of the day today to get that ankle back to where it was in the Bucks series, because they're going to need Jimmy Butler to throw on the Superman cape and be utterly brilliant. Now, the one thing is Boston at times, they've been defensively lazy. Boston at times has been way too reliant on the 3. Boston at times, you've seen the inexperience of Mazzulla as a head coach. Does Miami have enough? Got to remember they're all doing this too without Tyler Hero for the majority of it, who broke his hand during the Bucks series and is out 4 to 6 weeks. So does Miami have enough offense to be able to survive, make this series ugly against Boston and frustrate Tatum and Brown? Do they have enough? I'll tell you this, Spoelstra's going to do everything he possibly can because he will come up with defensive ways. He'll come up with different looks. He'll do whatever he can to try and baffle and confuse the Boston Celtics. I just don't think Miami's got enough.
Being Knicks fans, if I told you have to root for one of these two teams to win this series.
Yeah, I'd root Boston. I can't. I don't.
Wow, I would root Miami over Boston.
No, I don't like Miami.
Yeah, I would take Miami over Boston.
Yeah,
I can't root for anything.
I can't watch Riley in an NBA Finals there again.
And I can't. I don't want to see Boston there again.
Yeah.
You root for the refs. Good one, Baby J.
We'll come back. We're going to talk a little PGA. Who do you like tonight? If you had a gun to your head, you like the 8?
Boston's going to win. I think they end up covering. Yeah, I'll take the 8.
I don't know.
You're going to take Miami plus 8.
I'll take Miami plus the 8.
Okay. I'm going to take Boston to cover.
I'll take Miami plus the 8 to keep game 1 close.
Okay.
I don't know. I probably will regret that in the third quarter, but I'll take Miami plus the 8. We'll come back. We'll talk about a little bit about the PGA Championship. Second major of the golf season. It's at Oak Hill in Rochester, New York. All the big names are there. Dave Barnett, he's a big name as well. Tour Junkies, he joins Keith and I each and every Wednesday. Bumped him up a little bit today. He joins us next, talk a little golf. All your golf bets, big balls bets. That comes your way next right here. Moose and Keith on a Wednesday right here, Better Sports Network.
Bye weeks are so incredibly important in best ball because you can't change your lineup. You can't grab somebody off the waiver wire. You don't make changes. So you've got to be prepared. If you're taking 4 quarterbacks because you want to be sure you got to be very methodical about the schedule, especially the bye weeks.
Yeah, that's a good point by you because I don't, in redraft leagues and in especially in dynasty leagues, I don't give a damn about bye weeks in a dynasty league. I'm taking the talent that I need. Especially if it's like a startup dynasty league, man. And so, that's created situation. Matt Deutsch's league last year, I had a glut of, it was like week 9, I seem to remember. It was the bye week of death for me. Like, it's a 2 quarterback league. I had a bunch of QBs. They were like all on the bye at the same week. It was insane. Yeah, at best ball, you've got to really be strategic about that, and it's almost more important than the statistics that you might put next to the player as the bye week to let you know, no, I can't go there because I got this guy,
Right.
this guy, this guy already.
You have an opportunity to get a quarterback you want, but your first two have the same bye week. You just can't do that to yourself. You have to be thinking it through. I do pay attention to bye weeks in my drafts. I just do. It makes me a lot less of a struggle bus situation when it comes to Buy-Mageddon. I don't want to have 4 players. I don't want to have all my wide receivers and just be playing scrubs. I don't want to have to get rid of a player that I like, that's healthy, that's performing for me just because out of desperation.
Dave Barnett is with us, I believe, from Tour Junkies. Joins us now from his humble abode, PGA Week. Good morning, Dave. How you doing, buddy? Microphone does help. Check 1, 2.
Microphone helps. How we doing?
Good, man.
I was
How's
so
everything?
shocked to see Keith. I
know.
couldn't catch my breath. I couldn't figure out that I didn't have the microphone in front of me.
I'm sorry. I know the baseball season, man, takes me away sometimes. It does take me away. By the way, Dave, great to see you.
Too, man.
Feel free to wish Moose a happy birthday. He's 62 today.
Your birthday's today, Moose.
Yep,
It
62.
is. I am not.
Gosh,
62.
dang, dude. Happy birthday. I would have brought you something. I didn't know.
Doesn't he look good for 62 though?
You do. I wouldn't think you're 62. I'd have put you like a 56 and a half.
Nice.
You guys are dicks.
No, you don't. You don't look 62. You don't.
I'm not 62.
Oh.
Your son. You guys are just.
That may have been
You guys are just awful
may have been a
human
coordinated
beings.
text.
You're just terrible human beings. You just.
It may have been a coordinated text effort.
Yeah, I
have been.
appreciate
Yeah,
that. Thank
may have
you.
been.
Thank you.
May have
I
been.
appreciate that. You guys- You really know how to make a guy feel good. You really.
He's
do.
aging because he keeps having to carry this show all by himself. And if you would show up every now and then, maybe he'd be less stressed out, you know?
Listen, I signed on for 3.5 days a week. All right. Sometimes I go over, sometimes I go under.
Be
all
who
right?
you can afford to be. I get it.
That's where we're at right now. Okay.
You look good for 56 and a half. Dave, you're the best. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, PGA this week. Let's talk Rory first because it's interesting. A bit of background. He's very familiar with the course. He actually belongs to the club. He spends summers and winters up in Rochester, New York. It's kind of his home away from home. And due to his wife and everything like that. How big of an advantage? We saw Rory implode, and you told us at the Masters and Augusta, listen, stay away from Rory McIlroy, and you couldn't have been more right on that. Hasn't won a major since the PGA at Valhalla in 2014. That is a long time ago.
Yeah.
Is this course made up for Rory to be there on the back nine on Sunday?
Is it made up for him? Yes. Is he ready for it? I still have doubts. And a lot of the Rory local thing here is a little overblown. He even said in his press conference yesterday, I think it was, somebody asked him about it. He's like, listen, I've seen this course more in the last 2 days than I have in the last 2 years. He spent some time at this course during COVID. I think he and his wife were kind of up there during COVID doing the thing, but it's since been renovated. It looks a lot different than it did even 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So I don't know that there's truly much of an advantage. I don't know that there really is. He still doesn't seem quite right to me. I'm just watching his press conference the other day. He just seems he's not the same guy. I don't mentally. It doesn't feel like he's all there. It doesn't feel like he's really in it. Is he still supremely talented? And does this place suit his game when he's playing his best? Absolutely. And his numbers lengthened as the week has gone on. I mean, he opened at like 11 or 12 to 1. I think I saw him down to like 16 to 1 at one point, which is definitely interesting. And it starts to get interesting with Rory because you know that his ceiling is so high if he's on. But I still have not spent a dime on Rory this week, and I don't think I will.
Yeah, Dave, I'll echo what you said. I was watching the pressers and him talking about if I never win another major, I'm still a big success. It almost feels like it's gotten to the point where
he's acceptance.
Right? Like he's accepting the fact that all right, I was great and now I'm really, really good. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, it did seem just different, right? He didn't exude confidence and obviously he isn't playing great, but he's always been super confident. Like Rory's always been a very confident guy. He walks around, he's got his chest out, his nipples are showing through his shirt, he's doing his thing. But he doesn't seem too confident right now. He seems like a kind of a little abused puppy.
That's the birthday gift Moose wanted. There you go.
He's not wrong. It is distracting.
We always see Rory's nipple.
It's distracting. I'm like, is it cold out on the course today? Like,
and as you know, Moose, being from in the New York area, like it's supposed to be kind of chilly tomorrow in Rochester.
Yeah.
I think those things are going to be out tomorrow.
Yeah. Those things are going to be out.
It's always
right.
Oh my God. I missed this, guys. I missed this.
He needs pasties. Nike,
it does.
Like little Nike pasty checks right under the shirt. That'd be kind of hot, huh?
Look, I don't know if that'd be kind of hot, but okay.
It's like distracting at times. It is when you're watching Rory.
And he's always walking like his chest is out. He's always
like he's showing him. He's like, yep.
Yeah, he's always
we popping,
peacocking around.
Now the other thing, Dave, is the course. So Oak Hill, right? Now, I read a story. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That they've tried to go back and revamp the course a little bit to try and get back to the old architectural way that the course looked. To the non-golf fan or those that don't know, like, what are the changes? You know, we've seen this on we've seen Oak Hill before, but tell us a little bit about the course. What's the hole to look out for? What is this? Who does this course play to? What should we expect here from Oak Hill?
Yeah. The originally in the 1920s was a Donald Ross design, which I love Donald Ross. A lot of people love Donald Ross. He did some great golf courses. Most notorious for his green complexes. His greens were always kind of pushed up and elevated from the rest of the surface, which meant that if you missed them, they were going to rappel down, and you were having to chip up to these like really heavily sloped back to front elevated greens. And they restored some of the shapes of those greens, which over time can deteriorate. And what they did from 2013 to now is they took out a bunch of trees. And that does change. It changes things. It actually helps the longer hitter a little bit more. In 2013, it was a dink and dunk fest. It was just hit it straight above anything. Just hit it straight. Even if you don't hit it very far, hit it straight. And I will say early in the week, it's been kind of weird. Like early in the week, everyone from the golf course was like, oh my God, this is a bomber's paradise. Like just hit it far. This is like wing foot, what Bryson DeChambeau did at the US Open a couple years ago. Just disregard the rough, just blast it down there as far as you can and then hack it out if you miss the fairway. Now, like yesterday, we talked to a couple people that played the golf course. They were talking about how firm these fairways are. And when fairways are firm, that helps the shorter hitter, because a shorter hitter can hit it and still get plenty of roll. So can the longer hitter, but a shorter hitter can hit it and get plenty of roll out to give them a shorter club hitting into these pushed up, elevated, firm green complexes. So I think now what we're hearing with the firmer fairways, I'm excited about it because I think it actually opens it up more. It opens up the chance that not some super bomber is going to win. And when I say super bomber, you're talking about like the top 10 longest hitters in the world, in the PGA Tour. It's going to open it up now to where a shorter hitter could contend. Someone like Colin Morikawa, this might fit him a little better. He's not very long off the tee, but he's stupid accurate and his irons are amazing. It helps him out. So the whole thing starts off the tee. You got to be in the fairway. It's going to be hard to win from the rough. Okay. And then you're going to miss greens. Everybody's going to miss greens, whether you're in the fairway or you're not, because these greens are tough and they repel not good golf shots. So when that happens, you have to be able to use your short game to get up and down and score. So the least important thing, if you're looking at stats to model and predict who's going to do well, the least important thing to include is putting. Now, doesn't mean you have to still putt well to win a major, but in terms of predictive stats, putting is not going to do much for you. We know that the winning score is likely to be somewhere in like the 6 to 10 under range, which is not a birdie fest like what we saw last week at the Byron Nelson. When it's not a birdie fest, and I say this all the time on your show, you don't have to make everything. You don't have to fill it up. Last week at the Byron Nelson, 22 under wins. You better make your freaking putts. If you're missing putts, you're getting lapped. Here, bad putters or not just very average putters can contend with good ball striking, because it's more about making your pars and taking advantage of a very few amount of birdie holes and just not making a bunch of doubles and triples.
What do you make of the weather? I know we joked about it, but tomorrow is supposed to be in the 50s. It's going to be chilly. And then, and I didn't look for Saturday in Rochester, but I know that where I am, which is about 4.5 hours away from Rochester, we're expecting rain. So what do you make of the weather this weekend?
So the first 2 days was what we're really looking at, because that's where you have a possible wave advantage with guys going off either in the morning on Thursday, afternoon Friday, or afternoon Thursday, morning Friday. As of now, I don't really see much of an advantage in terms of a 2-day, the first 2 days wave. But yeah, I mean, these mornings that are cold, now that's where a longer player is going to be better, because the ball doesn't travel as far in cold air. The cold air is harder for the ball to get through. And then, the everything's going to be a little bit firmer in terms of the greens, more than likely, in that cold air. So the colder temperatures in the mornings are going to be where the shorter guys are not going to be real happy. But as it warms up, it'll be okay. Overall, it looks like it's going to be a challenging thing. Like, the weather's going to present a challenge, because when it's cold, again, the golf course is going to play longer. And the winds look like they might kick up starting on, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I do see rain forecasted for Saturday as well. They'll play in some rain as long as it's not puddling, and they'll play as long as it's not, lightning. But there does look to be rain pretty consistently all day. So what that kind of does overall, if we zoom out and look at all 4 days, cold, windy, rainy, you got to have some grinder mentality about you. You got to be able to have shown and proven that you can play in conditions. You're not going to get rattled. You're not going to be, pissing and moaning because of the conditions. Everybody's going to be playing in it. You got to have kind of that grinder mentality. And there's a few names that are better at that than others.
All right, well, let's get into that, Dave. You teed it up perfectly. Who are the grinders here that you think are going to do well over the next 4 days?
Well, if you're looking at the top of the board, I mean, obviously we talked about Rory already. Rahm and Scheffler have pretty much been co-favorites all week long, and on every book around 7.5 to 1. I prefer Rahm in this scenario. I think both guys are grinders. Both of them are. I think they both suit that well. The only hole in the boat, and I say that a lot here, but the only hole in the boat for Scotty is the putter right now is not great. And I know I just said you don't have to necessarily putt well to win a major, but if you're talking about the two best players in the world, and I don't know that I would bet both of them. If you're going to pick one, I like Rahm up top. Everything is just going well for Rahm right now. Him and Scotty are probably neck and neck from tee to green, but short game putting right now, Rahm has an edge. So I go Rahm there. As we keep going down the board, Patrick Cantlay's gotten a lot of love. I'm still not convinced Patrick Cantlay is the dude just yet to win a major. He's never won one, which at the PGA Championship, a first-time major winner can definitely happen. We've seen that in the past. One of my favorite bets on the board is, and it's all week long, and I was saying the same thing Masters week, and he totally killed me in Masters. But I'm telling you, Tony Finau is going to win a major at some point, and I want to be there when he does. He's 29 to 1 right now on FanDuel. He does everything well. Everything. There's nothing that he doesn't do well. He's long. He's straight off the tee. His irons are fantastic. He's got a perfect mental game. He's never too up, never too down. He can roll with the punches. His short game is highly underrated. I love Finau at 29 to 1.
Actually, he dipped to 21 now. 21.
No way.
Yeah, plus 2,100 now. I just looked.
Oh, jeez. I mean, I still like Finau up there.
You just did that, by the way. You moved the market, literally.
I don't know if that happened, but I like him over Cantlay and Xander and Brooks and those guys in that same range. Those guys have all shortened throughout the week as well. So I like Finau. I like Justin Thomas.
I was going to say, what about the defending champ? Yeah,
defending champ Justin Thomas. When you think grinder, Justin Thomas has proven to be a grinder. Last year at this tournament, he was 5 shots behind going into the last round, which feels like a lot to overcome at a major. And he stormed the castle and took it in a playoff against Will Zalatoris. I really like JT's game right now. His ball striking has been really good. His short game is always good. That's one thing that he kind of leans on when you have these grinded out conditions is your short game. The putter's been a little off, but he said yesterday that it's been getting better. He's working on that new method of reading his putts, that aim point stuff that I hate. But he said it's finally kind of clicking for him, which is good to see. So I do like JT up top as well. And I mean, I could probably get some shit for this, but Max Homa is still in play for me. He's never won a major. He's never really contended and played well in a major at all. But you talk about statistically a guy that does it all really, really well. And again, we've seen a lot of first-time major winners come out of nowhere and win PGA championships, like Jason Duffner at this very golf tournament in 2013, like Keegan Bradley back in 2011, Jimmy Walker at Baltusrol a few years ago. We've seen that happen. Mito Pereira last year. I mean, if you remember this tournament last year, on the last hole, Mito Pereira was winning this golf tournament, I think by 1 or 2 shots. He was 150 to 1 going into the week.
He's 160 to 1 now.
Right. He'd never won before. And he just made a bad decision off the tee that cost him the tournament. But that's what I'm saying. Like, had he not made that decision, we could be talking about a guy, oh my God, 150 to 1 winner won last year. Like, the PGA is kind of one of those guys.
All right. So if I'm looking at long shots, if I'm going down the board and you've got your, I know you put out your big balls bets for Tour
Not
Champions.
out yet. It's coming out in like 30 minutes after this.
All right. So 30 minutes after this, big balls bets are going to be out. Give us a little preview here, Dave. I know you don't want to give us the entire card, but give us a little bit of a preview. Give us a couple names of guys that are long shots that you think have got more than just a punt, or have got a puncher's chance to potentially be their back nine Sunday.
Well, speaking of a first-time major winner, potentially, I love the way Tommy Fleetwood continues to play right now. Like, Tommy Ladd is just hitting it so well right now. His odds have kind of tanked. He was around like 90 to 1 to start the week. I think now you can maybe find him at 55 to 60. I still like it for Tommy Ladd. He's just playing so well. And again, no holes in the boat. He's doing everything well. He's never even won on the PGA Tour before, but he's come close, and he's come close this season. And I just don't think that matters as much at the PGA. He's a professional. He's a veteran. He's been through the fire at tournaments, major tournaments before. I love Tommy. Working down the board a little bit, a live guy that I think we were all talking about a couple of weeks ago, and then he kind of fizzled. But Taylor Gooch is around 70 to 80 to 1 on most places. He won back-to-back live events just less than a month ago. He's a great ball striker. Grew up playing golf in Oklahoma. Went to Oklahoma State. He knows how to hit the ball in the wind out there at Oklahoma. Really good golfer, 70 to 80 to 1. I think he's a sleeper from live. And then if we're talking about a couple triple-digit bombs, Justin Rose, 100 to 1. Talk about a grinder. The major that he won was a grind fest. He hits it long and straight. He won earlier this year. He's older, but I mean, that experience in majors can pay off a lot. So I like him at around 100 or 90 to 1 on most books. And then the last one I'm going to give you is Gary Woodland, around 100 to 1 as well. Woodland, like Tommy Fleetwood, lately has been peaking, like hitting the ball fantastic, probably better than he's ever hit it in his career. He's had a long career. He's a multiple winner on tour. He's a U.S. Open winner, tough, grindy conditions at the U.S. Open when he won at Pebble Beach. The only thing he can't do is he can't putt. I mean, the three of us are better putters than Gary Woodland. But again, at this golf tournament, you don't have to make everything. He will be freed up knowing that if he just hits his greens in regulation and he stays patient and just 2 putts, and some of them will drop, he could be in contention on Sunday at a triple-digit number.
Yeah, I'm pretty nasty at putt. Get me on the mini golf course. I'm legit. From a DFS standpoint, are there people specifically you're avoiding? Who are you staying away from this week?
Conceptually, that's a good question. Conceptually, it's really most of the chalk, because the PGA, this thing is going to have some variance, okay? And we talk about variance a lot in golf, and at a baseline level, golf always has variance. I mean, if you've ever played the game, you know this. You know that one hole, you feel like Tiger Woods. The next hole, you feel like Ray Charles, right? Like you can't hit the ball. You don't know where your body's at. You don't know where the ball's going, whatever. That's kind of golf in general. Now, obviously, these are professionals. It doesn't work like quite that way in terms of that spectrum. But with conditions being interesting, cold, firm and fast, thick, nasty, rough. The bunkers are nasty. I didn't even talk about the bunkers, but these bunkers are going to get some action this week. This is not like run-of-the-mill PGA Tour bunkers. These things are gross. I've heard stories about guys getting in there in practice rounds this week, having to go out sideways or backwards because they couldn't get over the face. Wind. So let me just paint this picture for you. You could have a Mito Pereira at 150 to 1, right? Or a Mito Pereira owned at like 2% in DraftKings that's on your roster. And John Rahm's winning the golf tournament, and he's owned at 30%, right? John Rahm makes one slightly bad decision or hits one a little awkward on the face. The wind catches it. It lands in a bunker. He's screwed. He's got to go out sideways. He makes double, and all of a sudden, Mito Pereira at 2% is winning the golf tournament. Like, the variance at the PGA can happen. With that being said, I don't want to embrace a lot of chalk this week. So the biggest thing I would say is find ownership projections. We have them in our Discord, in our Nut Hut. We go to 4 to 5 different websites, and we aggregate all the ownership projections and then spit out an aggregate total. Find the chalkiest guys, the most popular players in DFS, and I would say fade all of them except for 1 or 2. and then have tons of leverage in your lineup, because it could get weird. We could see a bunch of guys up top trunk slamming on Friday or irrelevant on the weekend.
I want to throw a name out there that love his game. He's and everyone seems to love his game. Victor Hovland.
Yep.
32-1.
Yep.
If I were to like Victor Hovland this weekend, am I crazy?
Nope, not at all. In fact, I'll go ahead and give you a preview. He will be on the card. So
nice.
Hovland, I mean, you talk about a long, straight driver of the ball. That's the first place I went was, okay, who hits it long and straight? Victor Hovland is there. Mid irons, long irons, Victor Hovland is among the top 5 to 10 in the world. The only issue with Hovland is the short game, and it is concerning. It is very concerning. He struggles to chip a lot. I'm hoping that he hits so many more greens in regulation than everybody else that he doesn't have to lean on it as much. And I also like the number for him to be in the 30 range. To me, is good. He's contended in majors before. He's not gotten across the line, but he's felt the heat. He was in it late on Sunday at the Open Championship at St. Andrews just last summer. Like, he's been in the heat. He played in the final group with Rory trying to win that tournament last year. He kind of stumbled on Sunday. I like that he's kind of been through that, and he knows what it's going to feel like if he finds himself in contention on Sunday. He'll know better about what he's going to do, what his body's going to feel like, and what he's got to do to get across the line. I love Victor Hovland. The chipping is going to worry me, though. That's going to be the only downfall of Hovland if he's not up there on Sunday.
And Dave, last week was a birdie fest, obviously wide open. This, this is not going to be that, and it's also not going to be the open, the U.S. Open, where it's going to be highly penalized if you hit into the rough. So, what's the score, though? If I ask you, Dave, I'm sure you and Pat have talked about it and discussed it on Tour Junkies. Where do you think you need to be on Sunday to give yourself an opportunity? Where do you think the winning score is?
There's a little bit of back and forth going around on Twitter with this. I saw one of the Vegas sports books post on Monday, maybe, the winning score over under at -10.5. I talked to 3 or 4 players and caddies yesterday, and they all were like, no, not happening. Nobody's getting to if somebody gets to 10 under, they balled out. They feel like it's going to be more of a 5 to 8 range. But we've also seen this before, like where you get to a PGA Championship and everyone's like, oh my God, it's so hard. It's almost like the US Open. And then, somebody just like comes out of nowhere and shoots 12, 13 under. I mean, these guys are really freaking good. But I'm kind of saying I would take the under on that 10.5 and probably peg it somewhere in that 6 to 8 range.
Moose, do you have any other golf questions for him? Because I have something totally different that's going
to I would just say this. At the top of the market, though, Dave, the guy you're fading the most is Rory. You would not touch Rory.
I'm not interested in Rory at all.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Moose, you good?
I'm good.
All right. So Barnett, here we go. So it's Moose's birthday.
Oh, here we go.
Imagine you and Pat are going to take me and Moose out for golf. Okay. It's on your dime. Pat could pay if you want him to have to pay. Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. Either one of you guys is paying. It's for his birthday. Uh-huh. What course are you taking us to? And again, it's for his birthday, but I'm tagging along.
Like we get to go anywhere we want.
But again, it's on either your dime or Pat's dime. So it's up to you. Where are we going?
If we're going stateside, we're going out to Oregon and we're going to Bandon Dunes. We're going to play the Bandon Dunes rotation of courses out there. There's a bunch of them. We're going to go to Bandon. You're going to feel like you're in another world. You're not even going to feel like you're in the United States. You're going to feel like you're in Scotland and Ireland, something like that. It's going to be beautiful. And you get on Bandon and you don't have to do anything. You just stay there and eat and drink and play golf and sleep. That's what we do.
Oh, that's awesome.
If we're going international, I'm taking you to Scotland. And we're going to St. Andrews, which is the trip we did last summer. We're going to go to St. Andrews and we're going to just get real spiritual with it. It's going to be a spiritual golf experience where you're at the home of golf, and that's the place. I am in love with Scotland after going last year. I want to be back so bad. That's the place to go. If you're a golf fan and you've never been to Scotland, you got to go.
Dave, is that the best course you've ever played, St. Andrews?
No, not at all. The old course, St. Andrews, is not the best course I've ever played, but it's just the whole town of St. Andrews, the whole vibe of Scotland, and like going to those old courses where we get here like this week. Oak Hill feels like an old course, right? It's like 100 years old, and you go to Scotland, and all those courses are like 400 years old or 300 years old. Or, at St. Andrews,
Feel the history.
There's also the new course at St. Andrews that's like 200 years old, and they call it the new course. So just the history and the style of golf is so different. And the people and the town of St. Andrews that revolves around the game, and some of the historic places there that you can eat, and the bars, the Dun Vegan Bar right there across from the old course. I mean, it's just a special, special place.
All right, we'll tell Pat to set it up, and we'll do it for Moose's birthday. Done.
We'll see if we can make a little money this week. Maybe we'll figure it out.
Let's go Victor Hovland. Dave, you're the best.
Brother. I don't have enough money to put down on Victor at 30-1 to make enough money.
Neither do I.
Shaming, but my unit's not large enough for that.
Dave, you're awesome, man. We appreciate it, brother. Thanks for popping on each night. We know it's busy. Enjoy the PGA. We'll talk to you next week. All right.
All right. See y'all. Good to see you, Keith.
Good to see you too, bro. He had to get that in, didn't he? He had to get that in. I go under 56.5 for you.
Just such.
Yeah,
thank you.
No
I
problem.
appreciate it. It's under 56.
We all know. We all know.
Yes, thanks. Thank you, Keith. We'll come back. We got a lot to get into. The Spurs got lucky NBA draft lottery night. We'll get into that. We'll get into the Stanley Cup playoffs, a little bit of baseball as well. And coming your way at 11:30 this morning, Matt Snyder is going to join Keith and myself. It's Moose and Keith on a Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everybody, right here on the Better Sports Network.
Vegas Raiders have traded up to 35, and they give up the 38th overall pick. In addition, a 5th-round pick goes to Indianapolis as the Colts trade down. The pick is in. And, Coop, your top 2 tight ends, best tight ends available, are now off the board as Michael Mayer is going to be the Darren Waller replacement in Las Vegas, catching balls from Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe somebody else in the future. But Michael Mayer is off the board. The Raiders have traded up, and I always look at this too from like dynasty fantasy football standpoint. I always like the guys that are traded up for. Michael Mayer gets traded up for as he is off the board now at pick 35. He goes to the Raiders. How does he fit in this system? Not only with Jimmy Garoppolo, but also Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, some significant pass catchers there, including Hunter Renfrow now.
Eric, I love that you pointed that out because that's the part of the draft that people forget when they're doing their analysis. They think about the draft capital, they think about the landing spot, they forget the draft narrative, right? This proves to us that the Raiders, at the very least, had Michael Mayer as high as Sam Laporta, or maybe even higher, because they're looking around and saying, all right, that guy's gone. We have to get this guy right now. And this guy probably is a better fit for what Josh McDaniel wants to do. He's used to Rob Gronkowski. He's used to Hunter Henry, these two-way tight ends that can block and run routes down the seam. Sam Laporta is not going to do that. He's only 240 pounds. This guy is your prototypical real-life tight end. That's why a lot of people were saying he's the best real tight end in the draft. Clearly, pass catching is at a premium. That's why Dalton Kincaid and Sam Laporta went first. But this guy's going to fit really well into that scheme. My question is, when does he become fantasy relevant? Because the vast majority of tight ends that are fantasy relevant are top 2 targets on their team, with Devontae Adams there and Jacoby Myers there, that's not happening, and Hunter Renfrow there. I mean, when does it happen, Moose? How long do we have to wait?
Yeah, forever. It might be a while. I mean, when you look at it, but I do think he's a great fit. Moose and Keith with you on this Wednesday, May the 17th, and good stuff with Dave Barnett. Matt Snyder will join us coming your way right around 11:30 this morning, Keith. And last night, the NBA draft lottery, the unluckiest team was the Detroit Pistons as they fall to 5. The Portland Trailblazers moved up, but didn't move all the way up to number 1. They've tanked before for players. They got David Robinson in 87, got Tim Duncan in 97, to the chagrin of Rick Pitino and the Boston Celtics at the time, who ended up with picks 2 and 3 in that NBA draft, if we remember.
What was that, Ron Mercer they got in that one?
And Chauncey Billups, right? Yeah, I believe it was, right? And last night, the San Antonio Spurs were one of the 3 teams that had an opportunity to get the number 1 overall pick, and highest opportunity, 14%, I should say. Detroit, Charlotte, and San Antonio, Houston, I should say.
Detroit, Houston, and San Antonio all had 14%.
Correct. And San Antonio moves up to the number 1 spot. They get Victor Wembanyama. And they're going to draft the 7'3" center out of France, who we've heard about for basically the last 4 years about him. And he's going to be this, generational talent, transformational NBA star. Everything that you've seen, everything is true, is impressed at the scouting combine. So what did you make of, first off, the San Antonio luck? I will say this is
that you called it.
No.
I mean, you did. You did say the Spurs were going to get it. You had a feeling.
I did say the Spurs were going to get it, but but I will say with Wembanyama is that everyone, we're all in the kind of the here and now. Like, to say that, and I heard Woj, who I like, who doesn't like what Adrian Wojnarowski does for ESPN? He's unbelievable. But to say that there are people around the NBA that believe that he's the greatest prospect in the history of team sport to ever be, is just.
That sounds excessive.
It's
now,
moronic.
If you want to say that he's the best since, I'm cool with the word since. Like,
you want to tell me that
since LeBron, if you want to say that.
Well, right. LeBron James. How about Connor McDavid? Everyone knew Connor McDavid.
Bryce Harper.
Right. Bryce Harper. To say that he's the greatest
Andrew
prospect.
Luck.
Right. It's just moronic. Like, can we not put on all this hyperbole and just have an understanding of, yes, Wembanyama is supposed to be this unbelievable basketball player, and he's going to do things a little bit differently, and he's 7'3", and he's thin as a rail. Let's see if he adds a little bit of weight without putting on this kind of unjustified, like to all of a sudden now have a debate about who was a better prospect, Wembanyama or LeBron James 20 years ago. Are we serious here? LeBron James was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, called basically the golden child. We heard about LeBron James when he was 12, 13 years old. Keith's got an autographed picture. He's playing at the ABCD camp with him. So we've heard about LeBron James, and the biggest thing is that LeBron James, the greatest attribute, and I've said it time and time again, is that he actually lived up to all expectations, which is very, very difficult to do. And we all get into this kind of hyping prospects up, whether it be NBA, NHL, National Football League, about what potentially going to be. Everyone's looking for comps. Can we just not put that on this young man and just have an understanding? Yes, he's a generational talent, but to say that he's the greatest ever prospect to enter a team sport as a prospect, to me, is just a bridge too far. Because
wasn't there, like, Lou Alcindor, right? Kareem. There was.
It's just like, it's like, no, that's not, like, don't say that. No, that's not true.
But you know what? And it got us talking about it. Listen, I think that it's fair. It got
us talking about because it's stupid.
Exactly.
It's dumb.
It's
like,
the
that
same thing as the warm weather in Miami causing problems for people inside a basketball court.
Correct. Yes. Right. It's even though they're in an air conditioned arena.
Yeah. So I think that, like, the scouting world is a difficult thing. It is. And like the people that do these types of shows, but their job is to get on and then talk about a certain player, whatever sport it is, and then do the comparisons and do the highs and the lows of this player. Like, I can sit here, and I'm not an NBA scout, yet I love basketball. And a lot of my early portion of my career was spent around high school sports and high school basketball players moving into college, right? That was like my early 20s was spent in that world, talking to all of those people. Like, I was so blessed to meet so many cool people in that field. And something that they routinely said was, we're going to get it wrong most of the time. You need to get it right a few. Like, that's what it is, right? Like, the scouting people. So, like, there are the people out there that are going to tell you, I can remember people saying Luka Doncic was going to be, it was going to miss. I can say then you got the people that said Zion was going to be the greatest player of all time. Oh, by the way, I don't know if we want to, like, revisit that. I can remember everyone saying Zion was the best prospect we've ever seen, right? So it happens. There all these best prospects, right? But if I'm going to break down Wembanyama and I'm watching all of his video, and I'm not, like, if I'm being honest, I'm not watching those French national games, those league games. There are people that are doing that. What am I hearing he is? He's got the skills of a 6'2", 6'3" guard. He's got the abilities of Kevin Durant and the body of Kevin Durant. He has a little bit of the body of, like, a Chet Holmgren meets Ralph Sampson, if you want to go back to the UVA days back in the day,
Good
right?
Yeah.
Or Houston days, Virginia, yeah. So like you got all of these things put together. That's fine. Now let's see what he does. He's going to be the number one pick. The Spurs potentially just changed their organization. But did you hear that P word I said? Potentially. We don't know for sure.
Listen, I also feel bad for the kid too, because he's got a ton of pressure on him. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, he's an instant millionaire.
He said he wants to win ASAP, championships ASAP. He said it right away to Wendy.
Well, for sure. No, and that's great. That's the mentality that you want. It's not he understands the game about, how, championships are going to decide it. But like, let's not put all of a sudden he's the greatest this or greatest that. Let's just all understand about what he potentially could be in the NBA. And what he potentially could be is a guy that changes the entire Spurs franchise, a guy that for the next 20 years in the NBA that we are talking about on a consistent basis, a guy that, gets his name into the conversation of the MVP award. I mean, he has all that kind of a potential, but he's also, we've seen guys, whether it be injuries or whether it be transition into this game, whether it be dealing with the physicality, even though it's not as much as it was 20 years ago, Keith, where they never realized that kind of potential. So now the real work for Victor Wembanyama begins, because he's done a lot of hard work to put himself in this position. And I know I read the piece about ESPN did. It was basically a decade-long worth of kind of a journey for Victor Wembanyama, to get him to this point. But honestly, now it's okay. You're going to get drafted number 1 overall by San Antonio. Well, they understand the importance of it. You saw the celebration of one of their executives last night as he was on it, because when it was announced that, the Spurs were not the second pick, that they were the number 1 overall pick, he gave you basically that Ric Flair scream, because this is what all these players, all these teams were looking at. They were looking at a guy that potentially could change the entire fortunes of their franchise based on his belief and his brilliance. And that's why Keith, that's why, the draft is of high importance. That's why teams have bought into tanking, especially when you live in non-destination sites, when you're not the Lakers and you're not the Celtics, because you need to be able to draft and get those kind of generational players or all-star players or all NBA players in the draft and get them in the building, because they might not be looking at San Antonio unless they have got Manu and Tony Parker and Tim Duncan as a place that they want to go play basketball in to begin the process of trying to win. Now, Victor Wembanyama is going to be a guy that goes to San Antonio. And I root for it. I hope he's as good as everyone makes him out to be. I have no idea.
See greatness, don't we?
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to be an NBA scout on this Wednesday morning. I'm not. Does he look great? Yeah, but I've seen a lot of guys look really, really good, Keith, in workouts and in European games and college games, and then you see him in the pros and they're just downright I don't think he's going to be that. Like, I don't think all these people are going to be wrong and all these teams are going to be wrong. I hope he's unbelievably great, and I hope he stays healthy.
I agree. I think it's a good spot for San Antonio and for Wembanyama. When you think about,
he's never going to retire.
Yeah, I mean, why? Like, he won't need to retire.
He's going to retire. Someone joked around. He's going to retire like 105.
Yeah, he'll just keep coaching. It's less pressure in San Antonio. Now, listen, the media markets have changed globally, right? There's no, like, as much as there are small markets, which means there's less press covering your team day in and day out. Every team is on television all the time. NBA TV is a thing. League Pass is a thing. I'm going to find this pretty interesting, though, because you got Victor Wembanyama, who everyone's saying is a can't miss, right? How about Connor Bedard also in hockey, right? Like, there's a chance that we have, if you want to start spitting things forward, like if Bedard ends up being everything that the people in the hockey circle says, and Victor ends up being everything that everyone in the NBA circles are saying, like, how cool would it be if these two guys 10 years from now are at the top of their respective sports and both were the number 1 pick same year?
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Be a lot of fun. Maybe Bryce Young turns out to be a superstar quarterback as well. And maybe we just end up with like the, drafts upon drafts upon drafts of dominance.
Well, but you've had, I think the first comp you gave is an interesting one, because teams in the NHL were tanking for Connor Bedard, and the Chicago Blackhawks got rewarded. Teams in the NBA, not all of them, a lot of them, though, were tanking for Wembanyama, and the San Antonio Spurs get rewarded. So let's see if Connor Bedard is able to live up to the expectations and kind of be that next guy that takes the baton from Jonathan Toews and obviously from Patrick Kane in Chicago, and brings winning back to that Blackhawks franchise. And for Victor Wembanyama, now he joins a group where, I mean, San Antonio is pretty good. When they've won the lottery, they've hit. Like, they've hit on each and every one. David Robinson, won titles, was a Hall of Famer. Tim Duncan is one of the greatest power forwards and centers the NBA's ever seen, won titles. Let's see if Victor Wembanyama can be that caliber of player. Because San Antonio, when they win the lottery, they don't miss on those picks. And it often happens in the years in which you have these generational players, because everybody was looking at Tim Duncan. He was expected to be great, and he was better than that. Victor Wembanyama, we've heard about him, Keith. I'm sure you heard about him before in the basketball world before I ever heard about him. But Wembanyama is a guy that's been on, people have talked about for really the last 4 years. Now we'll see exactly what he is in the NBA. I'm excited to see exactly what it looks like, in San Antonio year one. And hopefully he stays healthy. That's the other thing. Because we looked at Chet Holmgren last year. Chet Holmgren didn't play one game this year for the Oklahoma City Thunder, suffered that hip injury, and then was done for the season. Hopefully Wembanyama is able to stay healthy. Be as healthy. In order to be great, you have to stay healthy.
Yeah, we've yet to see someone come into the league at 7'2", 7'3", 7'4", and not have injury issues. Like, can you name a 7'3" player that has come into the NBA that didn't have injury issues? I can't.
Yao Ming had injury issues.
Yep.
Joel Embiid. Embiid's not 7'3", but Embiid's had injury issues.
Yep.
Porzingis has had injury issues.
Yeah. So that would be the caution here, right? And the thing about this too is, as great as Victor appears to be, I think the Hornets are fine. They're going to get Scoot Henderson if they want to pair him up with LaMelo Ball, and they could be 2 years away from having the best backcourt in all of basketball. Any other year, Scoot Henderson is the number 1 overall selection. This kid can flat out ball. And then you look at the Portland Trailblazers, who stuck up to number 3. They're going to probably take Brandon Miller. And Brandon Miller, many other years, would be the number 1 overall pick as well. This is a deep draft. This will do the Thompson twins as well. Like, this is a deep draft. I think
a good draft for the Knicks not to have a first round.
Oh my God. I know. Someone wrote that. Oh, who was it? Wally wrote Dallas really screwed the Knicks. I know. Yes.
Yeah.
Knicks don't get that top 10 pick.
No, they don't. And I don't think they have a first rounder.
I don't believe so. No.
No, they don't even have a first round pick. So in a draft in which is deep and you've got talent and this and that, the Dallas Mavericks screw over the Knicks and they tank at the end of the season, miss the playoffs. They end up in the top 10. There you have a top 10 protected pick. So their pick remains down in Dallas. Couple of things, other things with the NBA. Adam Silver, draft night, did an interview with Malika Andrews on ESPN about Ja Morant. So the NBA is going to investigate it, but, in essence, doesn't look good. Ja Morant then, later in the night issues a statement, apologizing for the video, the Instagram live that went viral over the course of the weekend, in which he is holding a gun in the driver's seat, as amazingly enough, the morons that he's with decide to go, live on Instagram. The Memphis Grizzlies have suspended him from all team activities and banned him. And honestly, the NBA is going to be heavy-handed. It really is. There's no other way to cut it. I think we talked about the other day, if you're Ja Morant, if you didn't see the light of day before, you're going to see the light of day now. It's already cost you millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. And he's not going to get kicked out of the league, nor do I think he should get kicked out of the league. I just don't know. And I think there is going to be a hefty suspension from the NBA. I don't think there's another way to cut it. I don't know what that number is. I don't know if it's half a season. I don't know if it's 50. I have no idea what that number is, but Ja Morant got the benefit of the doubt and made a lot of people look like morons. And people don't like being made, especially in positions of power, look like morons.
That's exactly what it is, right? When you make Adam Silver and the rest of the governing board in the NBA look stupid, that vouched for you, young player. I was having a conversation with a guy yesterday, and he said to me, he goes, but what did Ja do? Because he's not a big basketball guy per se, right? He said, what did Ja Morant do that was illegal? And I said, no. I mean, as far as I know, I think he has a license to carry a gun. Like he was in a car, like it wasn't a place where he wasn't allowed to have a gun on himself. He's like, so why is he in trouble? And I said, because he's making the league look dumb. They told him, don't do this. It's not that, like, if Ja Morant, if the reason to have a gun is that he's fearful for his own well-being and his safety, he's got a lot of money. He can hire two big, huge brolic dudes to be his buddies and carry guns with them all the time. Like, you don't like, but
well, I don't have a gun in my home.
Neither do I. We've talked about this.
Nor do I make $30 million a year. Right. But I could understand if you have the kind of wealth that actors, actresses, athletes have, CEOs, whatever it might be, right? That you have that kind of money where if you want to go take and get a license legally, take lessons and just have something due to maybe potentially a home invasion or personal protection or whatever it might be. If you choose to do that, as long I've got I don't have a problem with that. I also, if I decided to go down that path, I would not be going around holding a gun in the driver's seat while my buddy is driving a car, like I'm joking around. That's it. You could also, as you mentioned, Wally Montero mentions, hire a bodyguard, hire somebody to be around you with 24/7. I know a lot of wealthy people that have au pairs that help take care of their kids and hire, nannies that are there 24/7 and everything like that. So there's ways to go about doing it, but it's not a matter of, this is another step in the process. I mean, we saw what the issues in Denver that he had. There was the issues with the Indiana. They basically told him to stop. Don't do this anymore. And he decided to do it again. So, the apology for Ja Morant, falls on deaf ears. It's like the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
At some point in time, the town's not going to come running. At some point in time, you keep on continuing to cry wolf for attention, and the town came running. At one point in time, after they were like, well, there's no wolf. Well, then you call when there's really a wolf, then, and when's the real apology? When does Ja Morant say, you know what, I've made poor decisions. I'm going to go out and change my life and make smarter decisions, because he's costing himself so much in terms of, his place in the NBA. He's costing himself millions upon millions of dollars. Money is always makes the world. I just don't understand why he's deciding to do what he's doing.
And it feels like, and listen, we don't have Ja Morant on the show, and maybe Ja would respond to me that, Keith, you're nuts. But what it feels like to me, watching from the outside, is that he is enamored with the, gangster life and wants to be a part of it. That's what it feels like to me. That what rappers and singers and musicians and movie stars showcase and portray in their arts, I'll word it that way, in their ways of life and their arts, is what he's fallen in love with. And I mean, I would just caution people to wanting to be a part of those lifestyles. I mean, whether it's you got out of that lifestyle or whether you had the perfect upbringing and you just have it reminds me of 8 Mile, right? Clarence got a real good parents, and he went to private school. That's a private, you don't need to be a gangster to get approval from people. Just be you.
Yeah, I'm with you. But I don't know when the NBA is going to be done investigating it. I don't know how deep of a dive they have to do in the investigation, but we saw the reaction from Memphis. I think it's going to be heavy-handed when you look at the association. So away from the NBA last night, obviously you got a big game one tonight between the Heat and the Celtics up in Beantown. Keith's on Boston laying the 8. I would take the Heat plus the 8 tonight. I wouldn't take it confidently, but I would take the Heat plus the 8. We both really liked the Lakers last night, plus the points, and thank God for the Los Angeles miraculous comeback in order to make that game close late, and also helped out by a missed free throw from Jokic too.
Good point. Yep, real good point.
10 seconds to go, Keith. I'm listening in the car. Jokic gets fouled. They're up 5. I'm like, oh my God, we're not going to cover.
Yeah,
we're not going to cover, and miss the first free throw. I was like,
the life of a better.
That's exactly right. I started
life
sweating.
of a better.
I'm going up, bats in Yankee Stadium on my right. I'm like, thank God he missed it. Thank God he missed
Joker missed.
Yes,
Yes.
I was celebrating. I was celebrating in my car that he missed the free throw. So we both had the Lakers last night. Interesting thing when you're looking at baseball last night. The stuff up in Toronto was fantastic.
Yeah.
It really was. And one of the intriguing things, and there's a lot to get into, and Matt Snyder is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. But when I ask you, take a look at this video. What do you think Snyder, the manager of the Blue Jays, who do you think he's talking to when we see the Blue Jays upset about where Luis Rojas is set up as the third base coach? Here's the video. Roll it, Ernie.
Well, first and foremost, so you think he was calling someone?
I thought I could be dead wrong. I'm not a professional lip reader. I'm really not. Everyone thinks it's Fat Boy. I thought it was Bat Boy.
I thought it was Fat Boy with an F.
Yeah, I thought initially it was Fat Boy, and then I looked back on it. Oh, he said, or is it Frat Boy? Oh, maybe
Frat Boy. See, I also thought there was a curse word that he was saying in front of the boy part.
Oh no, I think it was. Roll it again one more time, Ernie.
Yeah. So
let's take a look at it one more time.
All right, that looks like Fat Boy. That looks like with an F.
Yeah. I don't. But he's not talking to Rojas.
Well, and that's the thing
because
too.
Rojas is on because he's looking toward the Yankee dugout. He's looking here. If he was calling Rojas Fat Boy, which Rojas is in really good shape, right?
Yep.
If you ever been around Luis Rojas, right? He's like in really good shape. But like the third baseline is here. He'd be looking here.
Right. It looked more like
looking at the Yankee dugout,
which would be Boone, or he could be talking to like Jose Trevino.
Yeah, like maybe he's talking to Trevino. I don't know, but it just and I'm a Yankee fan. It's so great. Like I love when it gets a little heated. And last night it was and then you had so what happened was obviously we know a couple nights ago, Aaron Judge up at the plate. Clearly the Yankees got a tell from the pitcher on the mound. Peers to behind him as he's in the batter's box. Something is being relayed to him. A couple pitches later, he hits a ball 462 feet away to straightaway center field where the outfielders don't move. So it was brought up on the Blue Jays broadcast. Then, their manager, John Snyder, said, it was odd. He's going to investigate it. Now, since then, we've had, you've had everyone, whether it be internet sleuths, whether it be conspiracy theories accusing the Yankees of cheating. The Toronto Blue Jays pitcher has actually come out and said, I was tipping pitches. Mm-hmm. So he's admitted that he was doing something. And the Yankees did nothing wrong. Like, there's no reason for, the Yankees to get their, to get all bothered and anyone from the Yankee organization. Like, they did nothing illegal. If someone is tipping pitches on the mound, whether it be the way that they're holding their glove, the way that, they're delivering the baseball, the way that their feet are set and they can decipher. And this is all things teams look at, decipher if you're a two-pitch pitcher, if it's going to be a fastball or a curveball that's coming your way. Well, that's on the Blue Jays for being sloppy. That's on the pitcher. That's not on the Yankees. If the Yankees find a way and then they can relay it to somebody to give them more information up at the plate, then you know what? That's old school baseball. That happens all the time. Nothing is being done wrong. They're not using a camera. They're not using a garbage can. They're not using Apple Watches. That's just what happens in Major League Baseball. So every idiot out there that is saying they're accusing the Yankees of cheating, no, that happens. That's called about information and process and figuring out what players are about to do. And if you have a tell and you're able to figure out what that tell is, and you're able to help out your hitters with a particular pitcher on the mound, you do it. But what played out yesterday up in Toronto was great, where Snyder's complaining about where the Yankee coaches are standing. Then Boone is yelling out at the home plate umpire where the third base coach of the Toronto Blue Jays is standing. You have Snyder calling someone fat boy. Like, it was just, I love that stuff. Like, that adds to the Yankee Blue Jays rivalry. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I loved it. By the way, D-Row did a great little breakdown this morning of a bunch of things on MLB Central on MLB Network. But one of the things he said about the pitch tipping and that kind of stuff, he goes, if I were in that game, what happens is, I'm at second base, and let's say I'm a Blue Jay. I look at whoever's at second base, and I go, we know what you're doing. We know what you're doing. So just letting you know, watch your head. And that's what happens is, like, if you're going to be trying to steal signs and getting that information when it's clear that, like, something's going wrong, like we're tipping it, we need to be better at that. We get it. But if you're going to be using that information, we might whiz one by you. And that's fine. That's all about, like, the gamemanship of the sport. Yeah, I had fun watching all of it.
It was unbelievable. Like,
yeah,
there was a lot of drama.
But I also, can we now get to the big elephant in the room? Like, Domingo Germán, why are you an idiot?
Yes.
Like, why?
No, I agree with you. He's loaded.
You're on the watch list. Wasn't it the same umpire crew that knocked him in April 15th or whatever it was?
I'm not 100% sure.
I'm pretty sure it was the same crew.
Yeah, I don't know. And he's got pine tar on his pants. And you clearly look at his hands, and his hands are
all over him.
He's got pine tar or all over his hands. Like, what are you doing if you're Domingo Germán?
It was ridiculous.
Like, I
guess, listen, maybe he's not that good of a pitcher and he really needs that. Like, he can't pitch without it. And if that's going to be the thing, well, then you're not going to have a very long career.
Well, I think that is. And now the Yankees are in a spot where he's going to get suspended. And the Yankees can't replace him on the roster. That's the other issue I have. You saw that with Mets and Max Scherzer. So this is – I get that players are always going to look for an advantage, but if you're Domingo Germán, how big of an idiot could you possibly be? Like,
he was eating chocolate bars. I don't know if you knew that or not.
But here's the thing, and this goes back to, we talked about it at the time during the Twins start. Rocco Baldelli, the manager of the Minnesota Twins, had every right. How do you warn him and not kick him out of the game then? Like, he allowed him to stay in the game, and Baldelli's like, wait, what?
Did you?
Like, what are you doing? No, you can't stay in the game. You can't just warn him. Like, at some point in time, like, he can't continue to pitch. Like, that's it. He's got something on his hands. Like, he can't go out there and continue to warn him. No, kick him out of the game. Those are the rules. Like, don't we live by rules in society? Yes, we live by rules. Those are the rules in Major League Baseball. And then Germán last night gets thrown out of the game. He's continuing to load up the baseball to get extra grip.
Crew chief James Hoy said that Domingo Germán's hand was the stickiest I've ever felt, and it was definitely not rosin.
Yeah, it was pine tar.
Yeah. I mean, like,
he had pine tar you could see it. Like, because he, whether it be Kenny Rogers, you've seen it with Aroldis Chapman. Like, you've seen it where and he clearly he had remnants of it on his right leg, on his upper right leg. He had remnants of pine tar. Like, he had pine tar on his hands.
I mean, it's amazing. Like, the instant we saw it. So the instant I looked at his hand, it was extremely shiny and extremely sticky.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Insert your joke.
Yeah. Well done by you. Yeah.
Same crew. Yes.
Oh, God. Germán said through an interpreter, it was sweat and the rosin bag. I don't need any extra help.
Yeah, right. Well, but that's the problem. You can't. We've already established it. Like, it wasn't. You looked at it. I'm sorry. Is rosin like that pine tar color? Because
it was just a rosin bag.
Because last night, Figgy, we were watching the game after he got tossed. He did a still shot, and he was holding out his hand, and you could clearly see right here on his hand, it was massively discolored.
Yeah.
With the color, if you've been around, like, I didn't play professional baseball, obviously, but if you've been around baseball long enough, you know what the color of pine tar is. And it was clearly pine tar that he had right here, and it was all over his hands. Like, I don't exactly know. And we've already established that if you combine sweat and rosin, and you use that also can be an illegal substance.
Yeah. I mean,
Scherzer established that.
Let me give you one more thing, and I know we're going to take a quick break here. But
yeah.
So he also said through the interpreter, the rosin bags, you have a rock one and you have a sand one. I used a lot of the sand one a couple of games ago. They said I was not using it enough on the mound. Tonight, I was using it on the mound, and that's it.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that's it.
He's going to get suspended 10 games.
Our chat said that he was mixing sweat, rosin, and super glue.
Yes, that's right. Super glue is terrible when you ever...
Oh, you ever get that stuff and you're like, oh,
yeah,
no.
And then it's like you can't get it off your skin. You have to like scrub your skin.
Yeah, it feels like you're going to peel away your actual skin. Yes.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you one time? I know we got to get to Snyder. I was trying to get super glue. I was like a kid. I was like 15, 16 years old. And you know how sometimes it's like tight, like if you use it once, you don't put the cap on properly, and all of a sudden at the top, like you can't get the super glue out. So I was squeezing, it exploded, went right in my like here.
Oh God.
And it super glued my eye shut.
Oh my God.
I had to go to the hospital, the emergency room.
Holy, like it super glued it that fast? You weren't able to.
Well, yeah, it was like super, like I didn't know what to do. My dad came, like I was home by myself. All of a sudden it happened. And then my eye, I had to go to the hospital because it's super glued like part of my eye. They had to cut it open.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they had to cut nothing. They were
Although you could have been a pirate.
Yeah, I
could have set you up for a different career. Ahoy, mateys!
All I need is a peg leg, and I'd be a pirate.
Most the pirates.
Yeah, exactly.
I lost my left eye in a super glue accident. Ahoy!
Yeah, but be careful with super glue.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. There are so many jokes. You're right, Wally. That's exactly right. There's a lot. We'll come back. Matt Snyder will join us, talk a little baseball, get into everything that happened up in Toronto. We'll do that next. He's Keith Arizari. I'm Mark Malusis. Moose and Keith with you on a Wednesday right here. Better Sports Network.
Let me talk to you, Vlad, about an award here that I thought was very, very debatable. And it was Cy Young in the National League. In terms of odds, it's Strider at plus 230, Zach Gallen at plus 215, Clayton Kershaw plus 1,000. Clayton Kershaw, to me, his numbers are phenomenal and better, or at least right there with these other two. Strider was my preseason pick to win the award. But Clayton Kershaw at plus 1,000 compared to these other guys with similar numbers in the plus 200s. Like, let's bang on Kershaw and hope he doesn't get hurt, right? Where are you at with that, Vlad?
Yeah, those are great odds. I think the only concern that fantasy players and Dodgers fans had before the season started was innings limitations. Just wanting to make sure that he is fully ramped up for the playoffs. And as some teams do, you sometimes get those phantom IL stints. And we might see that sometime maybe around the All-Star break with Kershaw just to preserve his arm over the second half of the season. But, man, he's a great pick. If you're telling me those are the odds, that's really, really nice. I do love your Spencer Strider pick. I think that's what I would have done in the preseason and bet on him. He's an absolute beast. So, but Clayton Kershaw at plus 1,000, those are phenomenal odds. And you mentioned Zach Gallen. He's incredible too, and looks like Arizona has been in the hunt there in the playoff. Well, so far it's early. Dodgers, maybe Padres will be in competition for that division. But yeah, that's a nice three-way race, and we might see some other players pop in there.
Bye weeks are so incredibly important in best ball because you can't change your lineup. You can't grab somebody off the waiver wire. You don't make changes. So you've got to be prepared. If you're taking 4 quarterbacks because you want to be sure you got to be very methodical about the schedule, especially the bye weeks.
Yeah, that's a good point by you, because I don't, in redraft leagues and in especially in dynasty leagues, I don't give a damn about bye weeks in a dynasty league. I'm taking the talent that I need, especially if it's like a startup dynasty league, man. And so, that's created situation. Matt Deutsch's league last year, I had a glut of, it was like week 9, I seem to remember. It was the bye week of death for me. Like, it's a 2 quarterback league. I had a bunch of QBs. They were like all on the bye at the same week. It was insane. At best ball, you've got to really be strategic about that, and it's almost more important than the statistics that you might put next to the player as the bye week to let you know, no, I can't go there because I got this guy, and this guy, and this guy already.
You have an opportunity to get a quarterback you want, but your first 2 have the same bye week. You just can't do that to yourself. You have to be thinking it through. I do pay attention to bye weeks in my drafts. I just do. It makes me a lot less of a struggle bus situation when it comes to Mageddon. I don't want to have 4 players. I want to have all my wide receivers and just be playing scrubs. I don't want to have to get rid of a player that I like, that's healthy, that's performing for me just because out of desperation.
Matt Snyder's with us from CBS. Talk a little bit of baseball. Good morning, Matt. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you guys?
I love
all good,
the background.
Matt, all good.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that is really cool.
That is a fantastic background. Well, let's start here. What do you make of everything that we saw last couple of days up in Toronto? What do you think the big takeaway between Yankees and Jays is?
Well, I was actually pretty happy to see Herman get caught with the sticky stuff the day after the nonsense with Judge happened, so we could kind of attack what's actually cheating and what's not, and it doesn't look like we're being biased pro Yankees or anti Yankees or anything, and let's just have a conversation about what's actually cheating. A player looking at his dugout or at a base coach or anything at all, or his eyes whipping to the side at all, is not cheating in any way, shape, or form. It never has been. The Blue Jays were using PitchCom. I don't know if people thought that the Yankees were smart enough to hack into the PitchCom system, but dumb enough to have players look at their dugout afterwards. That would be really off the charts ridiculous for that to be able to happen. If Judge was looking back at the catcher, which I don't think his eyes were moving back enough. If he was, that's not illegal, but it's totally bush league. As anybody who's played at any level would know, that generally calls for a brushback pitch, but it's not illegal. But I don't think he was looking far enough for that. He was looking at his dugout or his base coach. And, if he's telling the truth that his guys were getting chippy in the dugout, I don't know. If they were reading locations from the catcher, okay, that's fair game. And the Blue Jays need to pitch quicker, especially with a pitch clock. If his eyes dart to the side, just throw a pitch and get him not looking. Yeah. But then the sticky stuff, that was caught red-handed. So, again, it was a perfect kind of juxtaposition there with what's not cheating, what absolutely is cheating. Herman was caught. It was almost as blatant as when Michael Pineda had that pine tar on like the side of his neck when he was for the Yankees a few years back against the Red Sox. So I was kind of glad to see that actual cheating last night, so we could be like, all right, so here's a good example of yes, that's cheating, and no, that's not.
Yeah, we know it's 10 games at least. You think Herman gets 10 or more?
I think they usually do 10. Get it's a starting pitcher, and you want to make sure they can't just push a start back a few days, make sure it's actually a start. I'd be good with, going to 12 or 13 on that to make it actually be a full turn through the rotation plus push them back a little bit, because it's still only basically like a 1-game suspension in terms of how it hurts the team.
Matt, does there need to be a little bit more clarification with what I know they sent out a memo with what is allowed, what's not allowed when it comes to you saw Scherzer say it was just rosin and sweat, rosin and rubbing alcohol and everything like that. I mean, I
like what your eyes just did there, Matt, by the way.
Exactly.
I enjoyed that.
No, and I get everyone's going to be looking for an edge and advantage. Yeah. I understand, but it seems like around and around we go here with Major League Baseball about what's allowed, what's not allowed, and where the balance is.
I don't think so. I think they're fine with it, and they're fine with the checks. Remember, we had 0 ejections all of last season. This season, it's been just Scherzer and Herman, or there might have been one more.
Herman should have been tossed twice. I mean,
there was the other time when they said wash your hands, and
correct.
Then Scherzer came right after. I feel like if there's only 2 guys and we're into the middle of May, I think it's probably working, and they're doing spot checks. And the reason I rolled my eyes a bit, if that's what you could call it, whatever I did with my eyes on the Scherzer thing was he kept insisting over and over. And when you're lying, sometimes you can't keep your lies straight. But when you're telling the truth, sometimes you accidentally all comes out. He kept saying he washed his hands with alcohol. And I have one of my really good friends used to play in the minors for a long time, and he actually had a cup of coffee in the majors, and he was immediately texting me the next day unsolicited, and he said, noticed how Max kept saying he washed his hands with alcohol instead of soap and water or just water. And he's like, an old trick is alcohol and rosin, plus alcohol's clear, but alcohol and rosin gets really, really, really sticky. And a lot of people would pour rubbing alcohol down their legs so they could just wipe their leg off and then get a hold of the rosin bag and then the ball. And all of a sudden it would get really, really sticky, and you wouldn't really get caught because at the time they didn't check your hands, and the rubbing alcohol is clear. And so he's like, you could tell when Max was vehement that he didn't do anything wrong, that he was accidentally kept saying, I was washing my hands with alcohol, instead of saying, like, I washed my hands with soap and water. So I think that Max was doing the alcohol thing on purpose because he knew it would get sticky. It was clear. Maybe it wouldn't be as sticky by the time he came off the field. And he had the backing of, whoa. It was just rosin. Look at my hands. So I think he was trying to cut some corners there.
All right. So you also got, the rivalry now, I guess you can call it, with Toronto and the Yankees. I think it feels like the Blue Jays are trying to make it into a rival a little bit more with, Snyder, whether it was fat boy, bat boy, frat boy.
It was a bit much.
Yeah. What do you make of it? And what do you think he was saying?
I thought it was a bit much. I mean, again, I don't think the Yankees were really doing anything nefarious, illegal, anything you want to say there in terms of Judge just glancing to the side really fast. And if they are tipping pitches, again, it's not illegal if you figure out somebody's tipping pitches to try to relay, hey, when he moves his hand this way in the glove, it's off speed, or when he moves his hand this way in the glove, it's a fastball, trying to relay that to the hitter. That's not illegal. That's never been illegal. It's never going to be illegal. You guys just need to be better at telling your pitchers to not tip, or if they're tipping location, again, tell your guys to not tip location. I've never seen a team get worked up about positioning of base coaches. And then he said it in the comments after the game. Then he did it again last night, like he was trying to dig his heels in again. That was a bit lame to me. I don't mind rivalries. And I think Blue Jays and Yankees is going to become a big thing where they hate each other, and we see some fights like the old Yankees Red Sox fights from like the early 2000s. By all means, that'd be awesome. I'm not going to stand in the way of that. For a baseball lifer like Snyder, I felt like that was a bit beneath him. But hey, maybe he's just trying to light a fire under his team.
All right, Matt, let's run around the league a little bit with you right now. What the hell is wrong with San Diego?
It's hard to tell. We're still in the middle of May, so I suppose
I get it. They're 3 games under 5. I mean, they are like, for the amount of money they spent, Matt.
The Tatis suspension, Soto going through whatever he was going through early in the year. Machado's having an off year. Bogarts hasn't hit since he was on major fire for the first 3 weeks or so. The pitching staff, they haven't really been consistent. They had the Musgrove injury at first. It just seems like if it's not one thing, it's another. Like the other night, Machado had a mild injury. I don't think they're going to have to put him on the injured list. It's just been one thing after another. And the one team I thought about was the 2018 Dodgers, when they were, I believe, 16-26, something like that, maybe 16-25. And they ended up tied with the Rockies for the division at the end of the year, won the playoff, the 1-game playoff, not really a playoff game 163 to win the division. Then they went to the World Series, lost in 5 games to the Dodgers, or to the Red Sox. But still, they kind of got themselves together, got hot. I feel like the Padres could have that kind of run. But then again, we've seen a lot of disappointing teams in recent years dug themselves this kind of a hole and just couldn't get out of it. Maybe the Braves last season started slow. The Phillies last season started slow. The Mariners started really slow and got really hot before the All-Star break, got in the second round of the playoffs. The Padres could have that kind of run in them. And by this point last season, none of those 3 teams had gotten hot yet. So there's still plenty of time there.
If we go around the league and we go to Tampa Bay and you see a team that's 32-11 and doing amazing things, hitting home runs at an alarmingly high rate, how do you put into perspective what they've done so far?
It's tough. It's tough to do that because if you looked at in terms of how fast they got to 30 wins, they were one of the quickest teams in Major League history, or at least in the integration era. The other teams that came up on that search for me were the 2001 Mariners, who won 116 games, the 1998 Yankees, who were one of the best teams of all time. Remember the 2016 Cubs, how good they were, especially early in the season, and then late in the season. The Rays got to 30 wins faster than that Cubs team did. They're faster than the 2018 Red Sox. So I think it's a testament to how good they are at scouting, not just other organizations for cast-offs like a Harold Ramirez before last season when the Cubs let him go. The Rays picked him up. But internally scouting which guys they can elevate, which guys they can target to bring up and say, hey, this guy's really, really going to hit for us. And whether it's a big-time prospect like Wander Franco to that they're supplementing, or whether it's getting Randy Arozarena off the scrap heap from the Cardinals a few years ago, or like I said, the Harold Ramirez, they just are so good at finding hitters whose profiles. Yandy Diaz is another one who's playing like an all-star this year. It's just one after the other where they're just figuring out, we're going to be able to get the best out of this guy, and he's going to be cheap because they always want him to be cheap.
They are an amazing story. They really are. Tampa. Mets are calling out Mark Vientos from AAA. They need all kinds of help. Verlander getting booed off the mound last night. Scherzer hasn't looked particularly good when he's been on the mound. He's also battled through some injuries. Rotation is a mess. The veterans in that lineup outside of, Pete Alonso and at times Francisco Lindor haven't really done all that much. I know it's early. We talked about San Diego. Concern level for a Met team that was put together the way they were by Cohen and Epler this offseason?
It's decent, at least. I mean, there are reasons there that, heading into the year, I said that they had the most potential variance of almost any team in baseball. The Rangers probably were in that mix too, because you could see them winning the World Series if they have everybody right at the right time, and they still could do that. They could still get hot. Let's say Quintana gets back for the second half. They get Scherzer and Verlander firing on all cylinders. Senga gets everything figured out. All of a sudden, they have a ridiculous top four in the rotation there. The bullpen, who knows, but you can always trade for guys at the trade deadline who are going to make a big difference at the bullpen. I don't know if somebody with that kind of impact will be available, but remember Josh Hader last year got traded to the Padres. Come the playoffs, Hader was his old self. Offensively, again, they have the pieces, but man, Marte looks like he might be cooked. At his age, it's entirely reasonable to believe he might be. If you go to it was always going to be kind of a thin lineup anyway, where you're heavily reliant on Lindor and Alonso, maybe get McNeil as a nice table setter in front of them. Nimmo, of course, is going to be good all year, but it could be thin. Maybe the second half of the order isn't going to be there. And then the rotation. What if it goes the opposite way of what I said? What if Verlander's just done at his age with his Hall of Fame career? What if Scherzer's just pretty much done with his Hall of Fame career? What if Quintana doesn't come back? What if Senga doesn't get everything figured out here until next year fully? So they could miss the playoffs. They could win the World Series. I wouldn't be surprised. They have built dug themselves a big hole behind the Braves. Now we know the Braves climbed out of that last year, and the Braves do have injury issues in the rotation with Fried and Wright. They have a big enough gap right there, and I think the Braves are probably going to be fine. I would definitely bet on the Braves to win the division over the Mets.
Let's go to the AL, and I'm going to give you 3 teams, maybe 4. I want your confidence level that they could remain relevant when it comes to the playoffs. Baltimore Orioles, 27-15. Tigers, 19-21 since that horrible start to the year. Otherwise, they've been really good. And then the Texas Rangers, 10 games over 500.
I'll go in order of high to low here. Orioles, very high. I think they definitely, if they want to make a deep run in the postseason, they've got to do something about the rotation at the trade deadline. Maybe it's Eduardo Rodriguez, foreshadowing for what I'm going to say later. Maybe he becomes available and they trade for him, but they've got to do something. I didn't think they had a good enough offseason in terms of adding starting pitching. They're so good at finding unearthed gems in the bullpen. The offense is going to be there. The defense is there. They're going to need more starting pitching, but I definitely think they're going to be a playoff team. Very high on them. In the middle is the Rangers for me. Like I said, kind of on the Mets, and I alluded to the Rangers, a lot of variance there. But, Corey Seager's been hurt, and they're doing all this without him. They're doing some of it without DeGrom. DeGrom's been hurt for about, half the season so far at this point. Evaldi's been amazing. If you look at that rotation and they get everybody right at the right time, and you can go DeGrom and Evaldi, right there, those are 2 aces. Behind that, whether it's Heaney as the 3 or – off the top of my head, I'm forgetting. They have several other guys. Martin Perez. They could have a rotation where everybody's pitching like aces, or all those guys could get hurt at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of variance there, but I'm middle on them. I think the Astros are going to win that division, but I think the Rangers can hang around and fight for that last playoff spot. Really, really low on the Tigers. I think this is just, they got hot for a little bit here. Small sample on that. They're still on the periphery, probably not even on the periphery of the wild card race, because the AL East has every team over 500 and they're still below 500 there. I don't think they're going to hang around. And I think if they do fall out, remember, this is a new front office who probably wants to kind of rebuild from the foundation up. When they fall out in July, players like Eduardo Rodriguez are going to be traded. So they're going to fall out, and I don't think they're even going to be close.
Matt, do you think the Angels are going to fall out?
Lump them in with the Rangers. Lump them in with the Rangers for me, where I think they can hang around and be close to the last wild card spot, not close to the Astros in the division. And I know probably the reason you're asking is Ohtani.
Yeah, well, I mean, are they close enough to where Ohtani's still an Angel this entire year?
I think that it's so complicated in trying to trade him because you have the aspect where you could probably consider him like two players. It's an ace and one of the best DHs in the league. But if you're trading for him, you say, well, yeah, but it's only 2 months. And if one of those two players gets hurt, I lose both. So the Angels would need a franchise-altering package back, and I don't know if anybody's going to give that up. As long as they're anywhere within the ballpark of contention, I think that everybody's going to kind of get to a point where they realize he's just going to stay with the Angels, and they're going to make a go of it and try to make one of the last wild cards. So they'll be close enough, along with it being very complicated to trade him, that I think he's going to stay put.
Matt, I want to ask you about the Yankees. You think right now, and they've gone through a lot, Cashman will talk about all the injuries. Who knows when we see Carlos Rodon in the rotation, Severino go through it all. Played a little bit better as of late, obviously. The Yankees definitely are a playoff team in the American League this year?
Not definitely. They're a decent bet. I would put them behind the Orioles, but in the discussion we just had ahead of the Rangers and Angels, they're going to be streaky. I mean, we saw how streaky they were last year. For a while in the first half, we had to be talking about if they were one of the best teams of all time, but then they were under 500 in the second half. So them playing around 500, especially with the injuries they've had, isn't that surprising. At some point when Stanton comes back, him and Judge are going to be firing at all cylinders. Bader's been a nice boost to the offense. Rizzo might be hot at the same time, and we might see another one of those runs. Maybe Gleyber Torres. Look, all those guys I named are just so streaky. When they all get hot at the same time, it's pretty scary. Maybe by the second half, Rodon comes back. Maybe Frankie Montas gets back, and he can kind of be his old self at some point. That firms up the rotation a little bit. They've got a lot of talent. They need to figure out the back end of the bullpen. There's a lot of time to do that. I wouldn't say definitely on the playoff team, but they'd be one of the better bets at a playoff team for me.
40 some odd games into the year. And obviously this is a betting network. So we talk a lot about like futures markets. Who are your MVPs?
Ronald Acuna Jr. And I don't really think it's close. I think he's a good bet to hold on too, actually. Yeah. In the AL, nobody has really, I guess I'll go at it from this way. When we saw Ohtani in 2021 against Vlad, Ohtani was kind of the new thing. And so it made him a nice pick there. Last year, I think it would have taken a historic all-time great season to beat Ohtani, and we got it. We got that from Judge. This year, I don't think anybody's doing anything that is all-time great historic. And given that Ohtani's only won the MVP one time, there shouldn't be voter fatigue on Ohtani, at least not yet. So if you look at what he's doing on the mound and at the plate with the Angels in the playoff mix right now, I feel like Ohtani's the pretty obvious pick there too.
Quickly, just go to Cy Young then also.
I
think there's
AL is a lot of names. Yeah. I did a column on this on Tuesday, and I ended up on Garrett Cole, but like Sonny Gray was in the mix. Eduardo Rodriguez was in the mix. Heck, Joe Ryan was in the mix too from the Twins. They had a nice go in the rotation there. On the NL side, I went with Zach Gallen.
Not Strider, huh? Wow.
Strider was my runner-up. I went with Zach Gallen. Gallen's been amazing. Strider's been amazing. Heck, Justin Steele of the Cubs was up there.
30-1 odds as of yesterday.
I don't know how much his workload's going to be, though. You know, like I feel like Gallen's at that point where he can definitely throw over 200 innings. Strider, the Braves will probably get him up in the 170 range. Steele, the Cubs are going to curb him down. So you got to look at the workload. I mean, remember – last year at this time, at least, Nestor Cortez versus Verlander was a big discussion, and Verlander kind of took off there. But a lot of times the workload will make a big, big difference. It helped Sandy Alcantara last year. He pitched so many innings. He just dwarfed everybody else in value because he threw so many innings. Gallen's probably going to make a big difference. And if you go on the AL side, Cole's as good of a guaranteed bet as you can get to pitch well over 200 innings and not get hurt.
Yeah, it's a good point. Matt, last one for me, team. We any team futures when you look at World Series, you think there's anything still of value out there that of a team? I know it's early, but
how far down have the Padres fallen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. You're right. San Diego.
It's-
So you
like
still
I said,
believe? So
they
you
didn't
still
go-
believe?
they didn't get there, but if you looked at the Braves last year, late in May, they looked like, oh man, they're down 10 and a half games to the Mets. What's wrong with them? And then they won like 15 in a row. So you look at a team that has that much talent.
Padres are 12-1 odds to win the World Series.
Yeah, I don't think that's bad because if they hit their stride and they get everything together, maybe a long shot. I don't like them at all, but a lot of people might like them as the Cardinals because they look like they've started to put things together. 7.5 out right now is workable in that division. Nobody else in that division outside the Brewers should scare any Cardinals fans. And the Brewers have Woodruff hurt still at this point. And let's say Burns goes down. All of a sudden, what's left on the Brewers right now? So Cardinals wouldn't be a horrible bet there. I wouldn't take them, like I said, but they wouldn't be a horrible bet because they're probably well into long shot territory.
Yeah, and also plus 270 to win that division, the Cardinals. So they're second.
That's not bad at all. Yeah.
Matt Snyder, CBA's. Hey, Matt, we appreciate the time. Continued success. We enjoy your coverage of baseball, and we'll get you on again real soon. Thanks again.
All right. Sounds good.
A lot of fun, man. Thank you.
Yep. Matt's awesome. Does a really good job.
Good.
He really, it was fantastic running through it. And he's not the question, like you look at teams is when is early, like not the rationalization. We all
like when it gets late, early, late.
Yeah,
all that
correct.
Stuff. Yeah,
the Mets, like I'd be more interested, I guess, in due to the upside of investing in San Diego than I would the Mets.
All right, so let's do that really fast. And we got 2.5, 3 minutes. If you believe the Padres are going to turn things around, they right now are 5-1 to win the NL West. Dodgers are minus 490 there. If you believe the Padres are going to turn things around and you want to pick them to win the NL and represent the National League in the World Series, they're 6-1. And I just told you they're 12-1 to win the World Series.
What are they to win the West right now?
To win the West? Oh, shoot.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. I'll pull it right back up.
There's 7 back of the Dodgers. Dodgers are 27.
5-1 odds to win the West.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's.
I think that. I mean, if you believe.
Well, I love San Diego. I already played San Diego. So do I double down? You know what I mean? Like we talked about San Diego before the start of the year. It's like I feel like the Indianapolis Colts. Remember, I like the Colts.
Oh, you did.
And
yeah.
the Colts were a disaster. It was one of my worst picks probably of my entire life.
I like the Cardinals in the Central, by the way. So and I'll give Matt Stryker from Better's Eye with me a lot of credit on this one. We did something about 2 weeks ago trying to find angles on divisional futures, and he hammered it. He said when the Cardinals were in dead last, and they still are in dead last, now is the time to buy in on the Cardinals. And I think at the time, like they're plus 270 now to win the division. I want to say they were like 4-1 odds to win the division.
So he played him at 4-1.
Well, that was that's what he gave out. Yes.
Yeah. No, I understand he can't bet it, but my point being is he gave out the Cardinals at 4-1. That's pretty good.
4-1 was great. Yep. Moose, happy birthday, man. Enjoy the day. Eat as much cake as you want. Calories on your birthday do not count, just so you know.
I appreciate that.
They don't count on your birthday.
You're like my trainer. I appreciate that.
I'm your guru. I'm with you.
And you're off tomorrow.
I am. I'll be back on Friday.
We'll be back with you on Friday. I'm back with you tomorrow. I think Justin Henry is in.
Yep.
Guys, thank you for all the birthday wishes. Have yourself a wonderful Wednesday. Thanks for being locked here. Moose and Keith, Better Sports Network. See you tomorrow.
Hey, they say